How I go about making art in just about every medium, it's just slowly building up layer by layer over time to try to get a look.
I think art is so fulfilling because it just taps into each of our innate needs to create.
The thing I love most about art, that it exists as a reflection of how the person created it sees the world. And not just physically, because we know everyone sees color and shape, like they discern it, light and shadow, just a little bit differently from the other person. But the way mentally you sort of ingest this visual information and how do you spit it back out, and it's a little bit different for every person. You get to see how they see the world a little bit, and then you create a piece of art, they get to see how you see the world a little bit.
It's pretty incredible to be working on, honestly, my favorite property of all time. I've been a lifelong fan, and so to have any kind of impact on the lore is pretty cool, but even just to be like around the wizarding world for my job is just like such a treat. Yeah, so I'm a 3D character artist here at Avalanche, bringing them from 2D concepts to 3D. Honestly, I might be given an image kind of like this, usually painted by the concept team. The task would be to make that in 3D.
Magic is really fun to work with as a medium. Because it defies the laws of gravity, you can do a lot more fun with it. And I feel like when I am designing things that are made by a wizard, I can push it in a way that makes it so that like a building is leaning in a way that it shouldn't be in real life, or it shouldn't be standing, or no one should be living there because it's going to fall over any second.
So when looking at this, I'm definitely thinking about where highlights are going to be. If I want this side of his sleeve to be lighter, I need to have that planned out ahead of time so that I'm not coloring in darker colors over that.
Slowly building up layer by layer over time to try to get a look. And it also, well, I mean, it does depend on the medium, but I have found that colored pencils is that type of medium that needs layers happening to look interesting. So for example, right now I've added like reds and purples and blues, and the blues are kind of blending with this kind of reddish brown to make kind of more purples, and because I like my pieces to have a lot of dimensionality.
I think it's good to set like your goalposts a little bit. So I would set sort of my darkest, most shadowed area, and then set my lightest, most lit area, and working towards those individual goalposts.
So my family, we listen to the audiobooks on road trips. So there's, definitely this tie to like fun memories, which is where it, I guess, mainly probably stems from for me, but especially for someone that is the same age as Harry as he's growing up. And so I just really connected with it and was fascinated by all the world building, all of the fact that a whole culture was created with even a new sport and new foods, new items that all belong to this culture. I just was kind of fascinated by it all, and felt so real, as it did for so many Harry Potter fans.
Every single time there was a release of one of the Harry Potter books, we would all be in the parlor of my parents' house and my mom would be reading to us. So it was really fun when Avalanche approached me about an internship here. I was so excited to work on the medium. I get to add to the story of Harry Potter, and I get to like help develop how the world looks, like how the valley that Hogwarts actually exists in looks.
So often when you're working on a game, a designer, and this is the case with the greenhouse, is a designer had laid out the basic proportions and layout of the place, and it's not necessarily set in stone at that point, but it's a starting point. And I find it's a pretty fun way to work because you're given the basics of where things need to go and where things need to lie. And it's your job to sort of justify all of that visually, and it can be a fun challenge.
I think art is all about saying something, whether that be like a one-off statement or telling a story. The art that I tend to gravitate towards tells a lot of story through shapes, through color, through every aspect of it. It like screams, I have a story to tell. I don't know, it just pleases my art soul to to look at that stuff. Something
I love about working in the animation industry is that I kind of view animation as the most collaborative form of art. And I love that, because normally art is something that's seen as very solitary and done alone, but to be able to all come together and collaborate.
So this is something that I love. I think it's so fun to work with a diverse group of people with a wide array of skills. They may have an idea that's better than the one that I brought to them, but that my idea helped spark in them, or vice versa. My idea has made them think of something that would be fun to do that they hadn't thought of before. And you really get this fun chemistry going where it's a back and forth, where because I'm bringing my best to them, then they're bringing their best to me. And to me, some of the funnest collaborations happen between people whose discipline, whose job is quite different from mine.
A piece of advice I'd give someone who would want to go into video games as a career is make sure you love it, because you're going to spend a lot of time working on some tedious things to make the really fun things. And if you truly love it, then the tedious things will be worth it. And to also make sure you understand the basics of what you want to go into. Like for an artist, get a really good education on the basics of like design, composition, color theory.
Keep a sketchbook. Always be working towards capturing that inspiration whenever it strikes, because that can be a fickle thing, and always having a sketchbook handy helps you do that more effectively.
I think a lot of people worry about like, am I doing everything right now to prepare to get there? And I guess my advice would kind of be, now's the time when you're young to just like enjoy discovering what you enjoy. In my life, I kind of found out what I thought was a weakness, which was not feeling very skilled in drawing. I thought that was a weakness, but I kind of came to find out that it was actually a strength, because I had spent my time working on a different form of art, you know, of 3D art, of sculpting, of physical crafting of things that ended up actually helping me out. That's what's gonna make you happiest as well in your career, is don't feel any pressure when you're younger to like choose too quickly.
One of the best things you can do if you're pursuing something creative with other people is to at least go into it assuming that nobody's there to just try and be better than you or to try and outdo you, but go into it with at least the expectation that everyone is there to just make a great product. And so when someone doesn't like something that you do, try hard to not take it as some sort of personal attack, but just as something that's not right for the overall product, and try to embrace the new direction. And if you do that, if you become good at changing direction based on what the project needs instead of what you want to do or what you think it needs, then that's when you really start unlocking the potential of whatever you're working on and let it be its best. And then you become your best at the same time.
Do you want me to sign it?